Students, in this video, we are going to talk about fiction and nonfiction text. So I noticed when we were filling out our reading comprehension, like chapter review, that a lot of us were unsure what fiction and nonfiction were. So I wanted to create this little anchor chart here so you guys will follow along with me as I'm writing this out. So first, we're going to start with fiction and nonfiction. So I'm just going to use my black marker and the fiction and nonfiction. So we have fiction. And then over here we'll have nonfiction. Okay, so fiction and nonfiction. So when we have fiction, this is not real. This is not real information. So I'm going to put not real. And then for nonfiction, we will put real. And then for fiction, if it's not real, that means it's more like a story. So I'm going to put story. And then on the other side, well, let's put story talk. So we're talking like it's a story. So story talk. And then nonfiction will do fact talk. So in nonfiction, it's giving us facts. So we're going to put fact talk. So when we read fiction, we read to enjoy. Like we read a story to enjoy it. So I'm going to put read to enjoy. We read it to enjoy it. And then for nonfiction, since we're talking about real facts, we're going to read to learn. So read to learn. And then for fiction again, a lot of fiction stories have illustrations, meaning like people draw the characters and they draw the setting. So we will put illustrations. Illustrations are what people draw. And then when we talk about facts and stuff, that would be like our photos. So like real photos of something. Charts and graphs would be also an example. So we're going to do photos, charts, and graphs. So a lot of time in fiction, if it's giving us facts, it's going to give us examples of charts and graphs. Like maybe we're learning about our weather and learning about rainfall. So we're going to know that, okay, here's a chart and it's showing us the different levels of rainfall, which is a fact. It's giving us information. It's fact talk. So then when we have characters and setting for a story that we read to enjoy, we will definitely have characters. We will have characters in a setting. A setting, which is the time and place of the story. And then for nonfiction with our facts, it's going to give us an index. So maybe at the beginning of our fact book, our nonfiction book, There's going to be an index in a glossary. Maybe there's definitions that are in bold print. So I'm going to put index. There's an index, a glossary. And bold print is one I want to put as well. And I'll put vocabulary. Like it's probably going to give us vocabulary words when we have a nonfiction text. When we have a fiction story, we have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So there's a plot. So I'm going to put plot, which means beginning, middle, and end. Where in a nonfiction text where it gives us facts, we are just going to have a table of contents. So a place in the beginning of the book or the end of the book where we can know where to find some information. Like we wanted to learn about the rainfall, and it's a book on weather. So we will go to the table of contents to find where in the book that we can find the level of rainfall. So instead of a beginning, middle, and end, we're going to have a table of contents. Table of contents. So when we read a fiction book, if it's a real or if it's not a real story, and we have characters and it's story talk, and we read it to enjoy it, we have to read it in order. We have to read it from beginning, middle, and end, or else it wouldn't make sense. So we definitely are going to have to read in order. Read in order. So what do you think I'm going to put over here on this side? If we have to read this in order, do we have to read a nonfiction book in order, or can we just flip through it and find the information that we need? So in a nonfiction book, if you said we can read it in any order, you were correct. So read in any order. Read in any order. And then the very last thing we'll put is sometimes when we have a story, we have a problem in the story, and oftentimes there's going to be a solution. So it's not going to be true facts or true information, but this character may have a problem, and then at the very end or the middle or the of the story, we will have the solution to our character's problem. So we will put problem solution. So if our characters that are not real have a problem and a solution, our nonfiction text is going to be true information. We're reading to get facts about true information, about true things. So true information. Okay, so I will zoom in at the end of this video on this chart here, but everybody needs to complete this today. I'm going to add like a little picture over here. So a lot of times, maybe you think of like a princess. Maybe you think of a princess. So I'm going to put like a little crown here. Because maybe that's what you think of when you think of a story that is fiction. It is not real. And then when we have real facts, maybe let's put a tree or the clouds, kind of like for our weather. So when we have real facts, I'm going to put a tree because a tree is real. Okay, so just knowing the difference between fiction and nonfiction is going to help us with our reading comprehension when we have to fill out that chart. It asks whether the story was fiction or nonfiction. So let's go through one more time. I'll zoom in as close as I can. So we have fiction, which is not real. It's story talk. We read it to enjoy it. We have illustrations. Characters and setting is definitely in a story talk type of book. A plot. It has a beginning and a middle and end, which means we have to read it in order. Oftentimes, there may be a problem and a solution. Now, over here for nonfiction. For nonfiction, we have it's real information. It's fact talk. We read it to learn information. We read to learn it. What it's asking us to learn or what kind of book we get is how we learn it. Photos, charts, and graphs, those are all going to be in non-information or nonfiction texts. We will have an index and a glossary. Most of the time, if there's vocabulary, they may be in bold print. There's a table of contents. So if it's not a story, that means we can read it in any order. And then it's true information. So fiction, nonfiction. Make sure you fill this chart out. And that will wrap up our lesson on fiction and nonfiction.